Check my pedigree, I got legacy in my pop. You playing hopscotch, I'm at top notch on the block. Slip and slide like me, nah. Spice it up with a sauce. Yeah, my Lord said don't do it, I said bop.
All right, a lot on the line here, of course, for Apex heading into this one. They do not want to go down 0-3, and they came so close. They get those map wins, but haven't been able to get over that finishing line.
Yeah, but you're going up against a Fnatic that is looking the best that they've had so far this year. And as we jump into the map veto, no surprises here. Fnatic going for that Pearl, and Apex going for that Fracture. But Apex decides to pick Lotus.
Ooh, yeah.
Against Fnatic. I honestly thought they might have gone for the Ascent, but that is going to be the decider.
Yeah, it was open, and all of these maps, you know, we have seen some good maps from Apex on them, but I feel like Split's going to be a scary one. Lotus to go for Apex going into this is interesting, mostly because they've gone into their strengths. Last week they played so well on this up against Na'Vi and just kind of forgot how good Fnatic looked in the mid rounds against Vitality. So Apex really just believing in themselves today.
Yeah, but even like having floating the icebox for the side of Fnatic, that it would also have been a very bold pick because as you're saying, they looked very good. But when we're speaking about what this stage is for, is preparation week to week. And Fnatic is a team that is going to be prepared and that has been extremely successful at Lotus.
It just makes so much sense for Apex, though. Just playing into your own strength. You know what you're good at, but the question is, will we see them going back to, you know, the current meta comp? Will we see that Teo again, together with the Breach and the Yoru? Like, it worked out for them, but is that enough to take down Fnatic? Do they need to come up with something a little bit more?
There has to be a reason.
Pocket?
As you're saying, there has to be a reason, right? To pick onto this Lotus. There's two head-to-heads that for me are very, very clear here. Batu versus Chronicle on those Vipers, extremely effective from both of the teams. No surprises in the picks here. And as I was saying, both Batu and Chronicle, respectively, on the Viper, I think that their roles are so important. Chronicle last week was amazing against Vitality. He was one of the sole captains of we are winning this map and going the third one. And of course, Floor versus Kayak. Floor, I'm speechless, everybody is. It is Floor. It is going to be difficult, but we saw it in the clip that we were showing with Boaster. Kayak has been having an amazing year and is going up against his former team on Apex.
The big thing is Apex going to be able to play the more meta comp better than Fnatic can play what they want to play, right? It's not quite as meta. You do have some different combinations with the Fade, with the Raze, with all of the good stuff, but Apex, look, it's all on flow again.
Absolutely. Apex and Fnatic sticking to their guns. It's a high-stakes game, so let's bring out not one, not two, but three big brains to call the action. Mitchman, Tom, and Coach Pal.
Thank you so much. Well, we've lost one of our casters, but happy to see this man up on the desk, the brains behind BBL. Welcome to the show, pal.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here. An Englishman, a Scotsman, and an Irishman walk into a casting booth. Someone's made a mistake somewhere.
I was about to say, this doesn't look good for me.
Why?
People don't normally like the English one.
That's fine, mate. That's fine by us.
You and me, buddy.
But no, pleasure to be here. Thank you very much. Really looking forward to what this game turns out to be today.
Well, that was something I kind of wanted to lean in with because it was mentioned sort of initially, like going back to the map choices. Like talking about Lotus coming up first, I think we brainstormed our veto between us. We were both wrong. You were more wrong, but we were both wrong. Yeah, and basically looking into this one, we're like, okay, if they're going to pick Lotus, there needs to be a surprise factor to it. There's not a surprise factor. So just looking at that for Apex, does that concern you at all?
Well, it depends. The surprise factor can take a lot of different forms. Compositionally, it doesn't look like they're coming out with anything that Fnatic don't expect. But I'm now going to look at, especially with Apex starting on defense on this map, what have they got? Have they got something new? Why are they looking to pick this map? And is it just because they had that success after the Na'Vi game, after beating them on it? Or do they have something that isn't to do with their comp? They've cooked up strategically, might be set strats, might be their ult usage. Something leading into this.
Well, speaking to them before the game, it seemed like they were content that they'd been cooking something, so I was expecting to see a comp switch up. So, like you said, there's got to be something else, an identity behind these agents that will hopefully put a thorn in Fnatic's side. Going on to split then Fnatic's pick and Ascent to finish it off, pal. Where are your expectations for, like, has this veto benefited one team or the other?
Well, I think it's pretty interesting from Apex perspective. Probably coming in as the underdog into this matchup, obviously. But with getting Ascent into that veto, I think they can be very confident. Yeah. It's a map that obviously they had very good results on this year. Well, exactly. And that's probably what we would presume. The fact that they've picked the Lotus instead and still managed to get Ascent in, I think it's something that they should be a lot more confident in than they would probably expect to have come out of the veto with. But Split, especially also picking that defense side, that's something that concerns me a little bit. Yeah, especially in the Fnatic's comp.
I'd say as well, the good thing about this is they've been able to dictate the direction of the veto. By having Ascent at the end, having Lotus as a pick, they will have known more so maybe than their opponents what map was definitely coming up. Yeah. And that's the one sort of sneaky little thing that maybe they can go for here. The problem is they're up against the team that's looking to go 3-0 into the group, Mitch, and I think that's where we think this is going to go.
Well, it's good to have the crowd back in the arena, and we've seen already that they're excited for this matchup. The seeds have been planted for Apex, and let's see if they can bloom on Lotus, their map pick, and the barrier's already up. Some aggression coming out from Fluorescent, and that's going to be a staple, taking control towards Rubble, and already a bit of a scrap. But Fnatic seem to have started out this pistol with a bit of a default, looking to see what Apex have up their sleeve.
Patient stuff. This is something that I think is almost expected from the Fnatic side. Always slow, happy to go for late round rotations, utilize late utility to re-clear positions. And Pal, I kind of want to look at what Apex are going to do here. Do you expect a level of aggression, having that Teo and other more slightly aggressive agents?
Yeah, definitely. The teams that are successful against Fnatic attack sides are the ones that can introduce a lot of disruption. So I'm looking to see how they use that breach, how they use that Teo, how they get aggressive in B main here as well, to try and start to disrupt that mid-rounding that we've already heard Boast is so good at.
Well, lots of players stacked up on that B side, but his Batu, who's going to have the pressure applied well and truly onto him. He's falling back out of C, just about making it with the pain shells at his heels, and the rotations have pulled in. Apex with 4 players towards C now, 1 on B, and look at the space taken on the other side of the map. Fully walking up on A and finding themselves an open site.
And even selling the idea with the paranoia being thrown through from the defense. Even still though, that time is ticking. Spike is only just making its way forward, and with a player advantage right now, pretty decent position for Apex to try and fight back into this one. You can already witness some deep control being held onto by Chronicle, but the remainder already going the other way. They didn't plant.
No.
See, I was so focused on everything else that I genuinely didn't notice that they ran out of time.
I was with you on that one, Tom.
Come here, do we need a technical pause here, guys? Has something gone desperately wrong? Because that is not something I expected to see. Oh, there we go. It's just turned red. It's just turned red.
Right on cue.
Maybe they're just checking my brain for that one, because I've forgotten how the clock works.
I mean, there was 7 seconds as they're getting towards the side. It looked like they had time, especially if they went for a more open plant. So either a big mistake or someone hasn't found their keyboard correctly.
Yeah, exactly. Which you would hope, especially in a player perspective, if that has been the reason, which I'd really hope it's not. That's an absolute killer to start a season.
Okay.
No.
Okay. That is not something I expected.
That's quite
Welcome
the
to
debate.
the show, pal.
There we
Welcome
go.
to the show.
Round 1, baby. Round 1.
We talk about who's the most cursed. I think I might be starting to take that title. But
We'll see how the day goes, but you're not off to a good start here, pal.
But did you say hello to Pansy on the way in?
That's why.
It's a rookie mistake, pal.
Okay, yeah.
It's a rookie
We should have
mistake.
warned you. We should have warned you.
Passed it on. Anyway, at least we got more time to chat about it. I'm genuinely quite interested, just even off of that pistol round, to see whether Fnatic actually look to maintain this slow-paced attacking style throughout the rest of the half. especially against this Apex comp that doesn't have a Sentinel, that should have a lot of gaps. If they can fake like that in the mid-rounds and make it convincing, draw those rotations from Apex, draw the TP out of Fluorescent, and force them to group up towards, in that case, the C side, then fantastic. Fanatics, Lurkers, your Chronicles, your Alphas, etc. are going to find a lot of space on the other sides of the map away from where they've pressured.
Yeah, without that guaranteed information, that is just going to be a problem. The gaps will be there, and they'll be constantly moving with the push and pull of Fnatic. And especially looking at recent form, Boaster had some of the best calls. It was the Haven, right, where everyone was talking about. And here on Lotus. So if you're coming into a game with gaps, you better know where they are and how not to allow them to exploit it, because Fnatic, they sniff out those weaknesses like sharks with blood and water.
Yeah, I kind of also want to talk a little bit, though, about that regenerative utility. I think that's still where Apex can get themselves back in late into the round. I think that's been the real sort of talking point when we talk Teo, is like, okay, this has become a must-play for many because you not only have that early aggression, which I think we've already mentioned quite a bit, but that late round retake, if they plant, of course, if they plant, late round retake opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's going to be the most important thing for Apex on their defense, as I said to begin with. They've got to go out there and just do some disruption, okay? They've got to use those salvos. They've got to use the breach stun. They've got to make sure that they're actually putting Floor into these more aggressive positions, trying to get in the way of what Fnatic are doing, and then use the fact that if they overcommit to space early on, it doesn't quite go right for them, they've got that TP to get out, to reset themselves when that util, that signature util comes back up again, and they can go again in the late round if they need to.
I almost want to ask if we could bring up the scoreboard. I know that obviously it's a tech thing, but this is one of the funniest scoreboards I think I've ever seen. Just one kill. That's it. One kill, one death, and a round on the board for Apex. Obviously, I think there's clearly been something more to be had, and it's whether or not that was human error or other error, which is probably what's being discussed right now.
Yeah, I don't envy that, the league officials in that conversation right now. I think you actually lifted your hand off the keyboard.
You know what? I actually saw a Reddit post saying, why don't the other team just watch the keyboards of their opponents? Then they can tell if they're shift walking.
That's very
They could have watched to see if that player actually let go. So maybe we should ask the other team. I'm sure they're very reliable sources as well.
Yes. What do you reckon there, Apex? Was that a planned? Or was that a tech?
Okay, I think our ideas are a little bit too crazy, Mitch. So we are going to throw this one back over to the desk to bring some normality. That's why we've got MacMate there.
Yeah, is he the guy for the job? I don't know about that one. Completely normal human behavior
I'm
most
trying
of the
to
time.
keep everything together, all right? Look, I actually might have an answer as to why I think personally that's happening. Do you guys use
tell us all about it.
You know with the keys, how they like, what's it called, something trigger, and if you slightly raise the keys, it deactivates the key. So if you're holding your plant key, if you take the pressure off that and you have like your settings way too sensitive, that could stop you planting. So I think it's human error because they've got the sensitivity too high on the keys. But we have proper things to talk about as well, don't we?
I don't know. That was pretty insightful.
Yeah.
I'm a nerd.
But yeah, no, we do have some stuff that we didn't get to touch on. No, actually, tech support as well.
Yeah.
He can just do it all. He's a caster, he's an analyst, an entertainer, IT support. I'm just very impressed.
Anything else?
I'm glazing you. I'm gassing him up.
Dancer extraordinaire. Yeah.
No,
you didn't want to see that.
I would not add that one to the list. I think we could just glance over that. But an effort was made, so A+. Of
course.
I do want to talk about someone else who's making a lot of efforts on the server, going up against his former team, Kayak. We didn't really get to chat about the storyline here, right? Because Kayak was such a big part of why Apex even made it to Tier 1. And now he's with Fnatic, and he's in the process of being a big part of the reason why they're not going to qualify for these playoffs.
At the beginning of the year, we were speaking about the humongous shoes that Kayak was stepping in when joining this roster in Fnatic and replacing Dirke. And of course, a lot of questions were raised and the expectations were through the roof. We had seen him play. We knew that he had it. Was he going to be enough to fit in with a roster of the caliber of Fnatic? And he's been proving himself every single day, getting better and better, not with this just ridiculous shots. This one, that on the round 22, that awareness, that crispness, even to go up against the one that he was was replacing. Today he's going up against Floor, and you know, we're gonna expect the same performance from him.
Yeah, and look, to watch what he's doing, especially last week as well, even when he wasn't, you know, one of the key pieces of the puzzle, he was always getting information, putting himself in position to get traded, and allowing the rest of the troops to, you know, be the superstars that they are, right? And that's what you want from your duelist. Like, yeah, you can have a flow that it's like ride or die with flow, right? But with Kayakis, like, you still have a backup plan, even if things don't go wrong initially, right? Initially?
I'm a little disappointed. I hope for more like boating references talking about kayak, just based on
more of that. Yeah, well, today I don't think they're going to be up the creek without a paddle. I do believe that they are going to be swimming straight. That's a paddling.
Yeah, you're doing really good. Should they swim against the stream? Is that? Can we go there?
Well, are we just doing swimming now?
Yeah, I guess he's kayaking. She's just like, what is happening? We can also talk about real things if you want. How about we take a look at some more head-to-heads, because there is plenty here up for grabs. Batu and Chronicle is something you mentioned as well heading into this one.
Yeah, exactly, because I think that they're two of the players that sometimes we don't mention that much. I think that I'm not going to say that we don't mention that much, because I think that they've had their moments individually, and especially when we look at their stats playing here in the Lotus last week. As I said, Chronicle just put the team on his back. I also think that we saw the reactions on the camera. He was going insane, and he's not the kind of player to be that emotional or that hyped up about everything. There's so many other personalities in Fnatic that are going to do that. But for Batu and the responsibilities that each and one are going to have, our casters were discussing the difference in the compositions, like having the tackle, having the fade, how that shapes and makes everything around. Especially when we look at the attack, Batu's going to be by himself. It's going to be a 4-1 in most of the spaces, and even with that, he was able to find a lot of pressure, a lot of opening duels going his way, and that is not easy, especially considering that the extremities that he's going to be mostly towards either C or A are going to be heavily punished by their opponent. So I wonder if he can keep up the performance that we saw last week today against Fnatic.
In terms of chemistry between all of these players, not only has it been phenomenal just watching the player cams over the last 2 weeks, I'm sure we're going to get more of that today, but with Crashies and Boaster, I don't know, did you guys see that content piece that Fnatic put up earlier today?
I see every content piece. I'm live for the content piece.
They were just dancing together, they're having a great time, and look, that is what you want with your teammates. That's how you grow synergy, and that's how you get these wins, honestly. It's not just everything that's done in the game, in the server, it's everything that happens external as well, because you want to be around the people that you have to be around, right? If you're stuck in areas where you don't want to be around the people, you know, maybe that's where tensions rise, like things don't go right when you're doing prep. You know, you might have little fights every now and then. You might not have agreements, and you kind of want to have agreements when you're on a team together. You want to be on the same page. You want to be thinking aligned. Another bit of content, like Fnatic did the voice comms, I think it was yesterday too. That was some great insight into the way that they were playing post plants and those clutch situations. There was one in particular, that 2v5, if you remember last week on Lotus, from Althea and Boaster. Althea got the 4K, but Boaster, he got one pick over towards Hobbit, still hanging around over towards Ruins, Rubble, whatever we're calling it, and he just goes, "Yo, I'm throwing you a weird smoke. I'm throwing you a weird smoke to get you out of heaven." And Althea's like, "Sure, hit me." He just, the weird smoke goes down. It's just like
that's real friendship.
A dome that allows him out. Althea walks out, finds two people just not looking at him, and it just works perfectly. And it's just like thriving in chaotic situations.
Yeah.
Because their personalities allow them to do that. And that is something that I think is incredibly intriguing, but it's what makes Fnatic, right? Is being able to adapt on the go, on the fly, in any situation.
I think the perfect one for that is Alpha, though. Like, it doesn't matter what kind of setup you give him, he's going to thrive. He's like, oh, I have this one piece to work around. Yeah, do it. Dude, I fully trust. Don't worry, I will go and click, and he always does.
It's just so much experience, right? So he has that flexibility, and he has the trust in his teammates. He knows that they will perform. It's like a trustful after one another. Like it's quite lovely to watch. It's also always lovely to listen in. And we actually got to peek into their comms a little earlier today as they were getting ready for today's match.
Trying to find the words to describe this girl without being disrespectful. Damn, girl.
I'll take you to the candy shop.
I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky.
I think about it every night and day. Spread my wings and fly away.
Empty spaces What are we living for?
I guess we know the score.
Oh, it's gone. Oh.
The show must go on.
What about everyone shut up and we play?
No, but we lost first map last time because we didn't sing. That's what Kron said.
How is that? That's what Kron said, but he's not singing in this one. Does he want to lose this one?
Maybe production was doing him favors by not putting him on there.
Yeah, maybe he did sing and it was just,
Didn't go hard.
just not so good. What would you be singing in the comps? But do you have a hype song? We're about to brag out.
I've got too many hype songs.
What's
that's the
yours,
problem. They're all
Kukuka?
sort of meshing.
To hype
You
myself,
do a
probably some
medley.
Taylor
You do a
Swift.
real medley.
I do some Taylor Swift. Like I can do it with a broken heart. You know, in case I'm feeling down, you'd be like, yeah, that's exactly what I'd go for. You found out?
Sea shanties, you know. Yo ho, thieves and beggars, ride the sails high. I can't remember the lyrics, but
That's what you would sing before playing, like to hype
would
you
that not
up?
get the boys going though? Like everyone go.
They'd be like, you need to stop scrolling on TikTok. That's what they would tell you. What about you, Zoe?
Look, I have a child now. I'm toddler pilled. I just sing like
Disney songs?
Disney songs at the
But
moment.
there's some very good Disney songs.
Moana,
Yeah.
popping off. You're
What
welcome.
can I say except you're welcome?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a very hype up song.
I do that when I pop up. That's after a 3K.
Let it go.
That's not the stuff.
That's not
No,
the song.
no.
Moana
What can I
too.
say except you're welcome?
Low-key bangers in
I'd say it's
there.
one of the hypest
Oh.
ones.
So as you can see on your screens as well, since we do have a lower third ticker now informing everyone about everything that is happening and then some, we are having to roll back the round that we just saw due to an issue. So that is going to happen momentarily. For now, we're heading into a very quick break, and when we're back, we hopefully have all of the players ready on the stage to continue our first match of the day, which is going to be a good one. Again, the stakes are extremely high for both of these teams, although I do have the feeling that Fnatic looking a little bit more relaxed right now as they're singing, they're dancing, they're vibing. What are the comms like at Apex side, do you think, right now?
Well, right now, since it's a tech pause, I don't think that they're speaking a lot.
Okay, so
I don't think they're allowed
on
to
an
speak during the
individual
tech pause.
basis.
I mean, I think that they can speak, but they cannot speak about anything game related. So I think that right now there's a lot of tension because we saw what was happening in that round, and if you missed it very quickly, Fnatic were doing, you know, we were showing before they went into their match some of the fakes that they were doing. They felt inspired to do it again. They were doing it so in the pistol round as well, and as they were, you know, inserting a player onto C, they decided to go back onto A, but then something happened with the plant, and here we are, you know. So I think that the tension is more on the Apex
story.
side. And that's how I met
why
your
are
mother.
these guys yapping for so long? Why are we still here? You know, that's why.
We are, in fact, holding this game hostage. That's what casters and this.
You got the button, right?
Yeah, we have the button. It's all in our grasp. Alas, we decided that we just want to talk about Disney songs more than anything. But no, I mean, serious talk though. Obviously, like we're trying to work out this issue as fast as we can. And they're on the case.
Getting ready checks from players. That's good.
right.
That's a good
we have
lower
the best
third. That's what we like to read.
on the case.
Trust
to
us,
work
we
through this.
really want to watch the match just as much as you do. We're not keeping you hostage, or at least not trying to. We want to see the action. We want to see the shooting. We want to see. First and foremost,
I'm glad this
why
is happening
Apex
so
chose
early,
this.
though. Yeah? I'm glad when it happens early.
Yeah, yeah,
we did
absolutely.
literally say, we've had a great week. There hasn't been many tech pauses, has there? And
We
look.
spoke that one into existence, didn't we?
Really kind of made that one happen.
But it happened earlier, obviously, in the match, so that's always a good thing, right? So you don't stop the momentum of a team. Like it's easier for both of the teams to just reset and kind of restart it around.
And like not even the teams, right? I was really enjoying the insight we were getting from Pal. You know, this TriCast was off to a great start, and I'm kind of sad that we had to lose him so quickly. But yeah, he was giving some great insight into how everything was operating and his thoughts on, you know, what was going to be good against Fnatic in this match, in particular on Lotus.
I saw some very good counters from BBL on Icebox, so I'm really looking forward to see what Pal has to say about some of this Fnatic rounds. Of course, there are some things that you cannot really predict. You're always going to be thinking about if this is going to be a fake or how you're going to retake this phase, if some parts of the maps are secure or not. So I really want to hear his insight on that topic.
Yeah, and it looks like they are resuming shortly.
So it looks like we're going to start again, just in case you missed it.
So it's going to be ready in just a little bit. So of course, for all the action, we once more going to send it over to our now favorite trio, I believe, Mac, right? We just deemed that That's it.
Can I just ask Tom, did I keep it on track or was it too chaotic for you?
That's a good, yeah, they'll, I'm sure that's the first thing they will chat about coming back to the caster desk, which I believe we are ready for. So let's send it over to the dynamic trio.
Okay, guys, so we can unmute everything now because of all the waffle we just heard on the desk. No, I'm kidding. I really enjoyed the singing. That was my main thing, but I do want to hear Bayer sing some Taylor Swift.
I thought you were going to say Chronicle.
That should just be the next. Oh yeah, Chronicle would be maybe a duet.
Oh, that could be. You could do Post Malone's parts. I think we're on to something here. We're also about to start the game. That might seem odd, but the second time round, we'll see if we can make it through a round, pal. Welcome to EMEA.
Thank you very much.
It's great having you here.
The first was so nice. We had to do it twice.
Well, last time it was a slow default from Fnatic. We'll see if the same thing happens this time. Again, the push and pull, they moved towards the C site and then finished up on A. Apex, not likely to leave as much of a gap as they did before. And you can already see Fluorescent in a much more passive position. So there will be some learning opportunities, I suppose, from that first little hiccup.
It is the same patience or hold, but again, we're seeing that be aggression. Clearly going to be something that's brought out throughout, but it's being much more carefully watched this time.
Genuinely, this is such an interesting thing to look at in terms of the psychology of both teams in this situation. You know what pistol both teams have now prepared. You know what your opponent's prepared. What are you going to do about it?
Exactly.
Do you want to do the same thing? Do you think that they're going to counter it? Who knows? Floor's not given that space and that kill as early as she did last time.
Well, it looks like they're going to make it towards the A side anyways, and with a bit more time on the clock this time around, although they did make it with sufficient by the looks of things last time. There are also more players from Apex defending, though. The rotation's in from Malzy. Fluorescent is here, as she has been the whole round, but Governor has come in to fill the space, looking for the fight, and Crashies is the one to win it, as the rest of the attackers move into the B site, meeting up with that late play from Alfier, who's been containing that deep push, so they're going to get themselves on site with double the time of last time, and this time, they've got the plan.
They've done it.
Round of applause, please. But in the meantime, Fluorescent has been able to get one back, putting things into an even scenario. Kayak in a solid position, but somewhat isolated. It doesn't seem to matter, though. Two quick and easy picks. And with Batu already dangerously low, a smoke and a nade to try and run through. This is looking like a done deal. No hope, it seems, for the Clutchmeister himself, and Fnatic, well, they'll rectify things this time and even plant the spike while they do it.
Well, for the second pistol attempt, okay, Fnatic have won that mental battle. They come out with the pistol win that they probably should have had the first time round as well. And now we can see what's the approach going to be. Now that Apex understands they're going to play this slightly slower game, how fast are those rotations going to be on defense? How aggressive do they have to go to keep the information they need to have a good read on what Fnatic are doing?
It's great to see Kayak down there already having a good time, and Boaster with a solid start. We've seen this in most of the games that they've played in Stage 1. He said it last week as well, that he's just been shooting from the start in most of their games, and that seems to be true here as well on the Omen. Now 1-0 for Fnatic. Of course, we know that means Apex are going to take a very light buy. They decided to push up with most of their players outside of C and a little bit of information for them on that B hit. A big blitz, but Fnatic more than ready, sitting back and letting the range of their rifles be the difference maker in those battles.
These are normally fairly easy scenarios to try and get through. I also kind of wanted to ask from your perspective. Obviously, one of these teams has stolen your assistant coach, and the other you obviously kind of struggled against when you're on focus. Is there a way that you're leaning, just in terms of personal preference, like I'd like to see this squad do well? I'm not saying you hate the other one, just so you know. I can see it in your eyes, you're like,
no. Genuinely, I'd love to see both of these teams do well. I think there's enough storylines. I think we're also seeing the best version this year of both of these teams currently going into this game. I think that's what makes it so genuinely interesting. From a prep perspective, from a game perspective, from an individual mechanics perspective, like you said about someone like Boaster, when you get that as well, you get that individual confidence, we start to see the sort of fantastic mid-round calling that he in particular had against Vitality. When you get some of the individual moments like a Vova clutching up like he was against Team Heretics, that's when we can turn a what should be a relatively comfortable series. Oh, they did close it out in the end into something a little bit more spicy.
So to answer my original question, who do you want to win? Because there was a lot in there, pal. But
sorry,
none of it was actually answering who you'd like to win the game.
That's what we've got desk analysts for.
Ah, okay. Mitch, who do you want? No, I'm not going to put that further down the line.
Let's go, Scott.
Yeah, he's going to pick the one with the Irish guy on the team. Or if there is an Irish guy, sometimes he'll create one.
That's not true.
Enzo?
I've seen the passport. Bodor, get the tweet out there. Enzo has an Irish passport. We've all seen it, so let's no further questions. Look, it's round 3. It's important to focus now because Apex, they get their rifles out. This is where the big fight takes place, but not much of a difference to what we've seen before. Still a player outside B. This time, it will not be Batu who's left to hold down the A site, but looking for some aggression. First down C, the one-way smoke in position, and now taking over control of B main, looking for some of those early fights, and maybe stopping some of that early control for Fnatic. The Prowler has to be used to clear deep towards the C site. And for now, that slow, patient play that we know Fnatic 4 seems to be holding its weight in water, but the B site, they've lined up with a firing squad waiting, a trap set, and Malzy walked into it.
This is the problem. Consistent movement out from this Apex squad is currently leaving them in a scenario where they're having to constantly go back to re-clear positions. And Malzy's not the player you want to lose. Some of that regenerative utility already gone.
Absolutely. I think if they continue to use this B main space to punish those faster defensive rotations through the B site, Apex are going to be in a lot of trouble if they can't find a solution to it.
This is a problem. Avova, isolated. The rest of the team not particularly close. Althea lurking. Could almost end this round in its tracks. Or even the player towards that defender spawn has been spotted. This retake definitely not going to be easy. And you have to bear in mind, this is a quote-unquote bonus round.
Back into the salvo. Barely holding on to life as Kayak, but with the showstopper online, 3 HP, you're not likely to use it in a 5v2, turn 5v1. Definitely not the time to deploy any ultimates. It should be an easy conversion. Batu trying his best, but too many numbers facing off against him, and Althea creeping his way up on the flank would have closed it out regardless. A 3-0 start for Fnatic here on the attack side, and for Apex, they've come in choosing this map. It seemed to throw up some question marks. It hasn't been the best of starts.
I kind of wanted to ask you then, we look at a lot of teams in the way that they run bonus rounds. Obviously for Fnatic, they went with 3 rifles, had a couple of pistols. They now come in with the super buy that they had in the last round, managed to win it quite clean. Other teams don't really go down that mark. Is it that level of risk? Because we did almost see them lose all 3 of the rifles on the other side.
Absolutely. It's definitely a risk versus reward thing. How good do you think you are on those second round anti-ecos? How good do you think you are at converting those round 3 bonus rounds? And what risks are you willing to take? Are you willing to go for 3 big investments on the rifles and just hope that you get away with it? It's something you bring out in practice. It's something you work out as an identity thing with your team.
This makes me a little nervous. The aggressive push-up. I do think as well, Fnatic have been doing well to clear things out, and Avova already gone, still a second player left behind, but they haven't just been sitting there elsewhere on the map. Alpha almost selling a ruse. They watched for the aggression on B, but Apex are still pushing it.
Ball back from Batu. He's recovered the Marshall, a chance if he can connect onto the head, but Kayak only needs that body shot. Apex. Obviously cautious of a play outside of A. A lot of utility blocking them off there between smokes and the Viper wall. So they're committing a lot of players to re-clearing that info while the rest of the map is taken over by Fnatic.
Was that a no-scope battle? I want to know if Kayak aimed it in. If he is, he's a coward. That's all I'm going to say. It has to be nose. It's no-scopes only. Everybody knows the rules, but yeah, from this point onwards, I guess the hope do a little bit of economy damage because power, it's already getting kind of crazy on the Fnatic side.
Yeah, it's starting to build, and if you're in that position on Fnatic, attack side, Lotus in particular, we know that when they get that confidence going, when they get the economy to back them as well, they can put on an absolute masterclass.
Seems like for this round we may already be there. Solid flash, but the shots just not quite connecting. That's a 4-0. That's 4 players surviving. And honestly, I think we then go back to the conversation about choosing Lotus, knowing that Fnatic will get that attack side start. As of yet, I've not seen the reason.
No, I'm looking for it. I'm hoping now that they start to get the operator out, particularly on
there's a wave right
we might
now,
see something around this this Viper as well. We can already see Bosa's confidence is up.
Oh,
Let's see what effect that has on his calling throughout this map.
But it has been dangerous, as we said. The guy has been shooting in the majority of their games and started out the pistol well, but hasn't needed to do much ever since. Thanks to a lot of kills falling into the hands of Kayak early on. Showstopper was there. And now still very much is for an important round where there's a big investment from Apex. Not only is the operator that you said, pal, in the hands of Fluorescent, Malzy's gone in for the Odin, and that is suppressing fire on another level. A stun lined up, and a potential swing out from Avova, but he just about misses the boat.
I think that Fnatic are already aware, though, of how much aggression there's been. But after forcing them back, Apex are very quick to try and make that move, a setup of the TP to allow Floor to try and hold on to this fight. Ready and waiting, but the shot not quite connecting. Not going to get too many more opportunities like that.
50 on the clock and a showstopper still in the hands of Fnatic. We may see that put through to punch into a site, but they're very spread. It's the push up from Kayak with that operator looking for a pick on C, maybe attempting to make some noise.
He's run out of bullets. Like, I think he's down to about 60, and as of right now, or what? The damage done onto Kayak I don't even think was him. So, yeah, this so far hasn't worked. Kayak is walking through the snake fight. Absolute lunatic, gets punished. But this almost keeps players on the other side of the map. You've got the hold from Governor. Potentially going to try and deny with the salvos, but that denial will not do enough. Crassy's position is so aggressive, it's not expected by Avova.
No. And now we're in a really, a much more difficult position. I thought Crashies would turtle, come back to the rest of the squad, play the post plant, but he swings out wide, catches a player on stairs, and leaves this in a position. I mean, 4-0, looking at a 5th round for Fnatic, and with the rifles in play, an operator still in their hands, they might have wanted to hold on to those for the next round. Now that's not an option, at least not for the op. Governor, the last man standing on the C site, trying desperately to keep that Vandal through to the next, but they have lost so much here, and Fnatic, it's another clean round, a moneymaker with 4 players alive.
Yeah, with the confidence this high on Fnatic's individuals, I'd probably expect Apex to look at a timeout here and start to, I think, goes back to the point you made earlier, Tom, of looking at this refreshable util, these salvos, these stuns, these flashes, to actually help Fluorescent get back on these angles. When she gets pushed off from B main there, reposition onto C-Long, take these deep angles for early info. They need to get something a bit more aggressive, and there's the timeout.
Now, I mentioned as well that obviously Kayak had the showstopper. I think we were frozen for a moment on Fnatic looking for an opportunity, and in my mind, I'm curious to see how you feel about this, pal. You know, I've seen teams before use that showstopper to fake out, oh, I'm the point of contact, team's behind me, I'm bursting through. You go into C, you cause the rotations, your team hits elsewhere. And Kayak's interpretation of that scenario wasn't to use the showstopper, it was to walk through a snake bite with an op and take the pick on a head peek angle. Is that something that you would maybe try to incorporate into your team in the future, pal?
Well, we'll find out at some point.
No leaks, no leaks.
There's those little moments. So that's the big difference from a player, from a team perspective, between scrims, practice, and officials. If you've got the confidence in the moment, you've got that read, you know that you want to go and make that play, the people that dare to do those are often the ones that win those crucial buy rounds, that force the timeout out of the opposition team, and then give your team that next step on the ladder to get ahead, to stay ahead, and lean into probably what's going to be quite a dominant half for Fnatic.
Yeah, I think as well, what's worrying me so far is, and it's something I think Fnatic might do better than anyone else on this map, is their ability to take ground, give it up, but leave someone behind. And we've seen that in so many rounds where you'll have a deep position from Alfia, Chronicle, or in this round it was Crashies. Like, you could see multiple players go, okay, well, I'm going to go clear back towards the door. Oh, I've been shot in the face from an off angle I didn't expect. So, and that causes a bigger problem with the comp that's running. As you mentioned, you don't have a Sentinel, you don't have this piece that's going, I have this ground. So then you have to reclaim ground. You're not going to stun that position.
You've got to get a lot more proactive, and okay, it's expected on an eco round like this, but when we get into the we need a bit more aggression like that. We need a bit of supported aggression from key players that can keep and hold space and deny those Fnatic inserts.
Crashies, I think, was 10-1 to this point, so Fluorescent has at least traded out the top fragger. Unfortunately, Kayak was a very small amount behind, and the rest of the players, Mitch, don't have any guns.
It's also given Crashies a little bit of a blow to the stats. I think he's been doing remarkably well when it comes to first deaths and not finding them. But Fluorescent puts a pin in that one for now. Reality is, though, they've traded out that operator. They've gotten rid of the big danger in this round, unless it's going to be recovered, which Alpha, like you said, they often will concede space. Here, the turret's watching your B push up, and Alpha's making sure that that operator doesn't get picked up. Now, if Apex can take Alpha down, that's a rifle and a good chance to maybe even have a say over this round.
I think that's actually a really, really good tell of the confidence that the Fnatic have, despite that Apex timeout. They're willing to take that increased risk, to leave Alpha there, to leave him there with a rifle, just to defend that operator, just to continue that economic advantage they have over Apex.
The stun was good, but the shot's not quite there. A better weapon, and it would have been a better result for Apex, but the pistols are struggling, out-armed for the moment. And Fnatic taking a whole lot of space. They've got their back covered by two bots. In fact, Alpha Year's not taking any risks in that department. And for Apex at this point, with the op recovered, Governor can definitely look to carry it through to the next round. For the others, it may be a go down to the spike kind of angle. Batu already has ult, and Evova's orbs not worth that much, but the economic advantage that Fnatic have make it tempting to try to remove some more of these weapons. So far, that has been a struggle. There's one at least, but here comes Alpha to lock it in. Now, will they get the op out of Governor's hands? He was saving the same position last time, and he saw Alpha last time, but this time he takes him down.
See already the chase. Credits on the majority of players, almost at maximum. A couple of nice flicks will keep that gun in hand. Important to, not only for his own economy, but more importantly to make sure that operator will lie into the hands of Fluorescent. The problem so far, as you mentioned though, Pal, so far they've not really been able to put her into position, other than in this round where she ran face first into them with an operator, which not the most sustainable of strategies.
No, it's not, but now with these ults, I would hope that they've got something set that they can use as a more sustainable way of disrupting what Fnatic have been doing so far.
You mentioned 4 out of 5 online. The thing is though, Fnatic have been winning without their own, and that's probably the more worrying prospect. Boaster has just teleported through the utility, but then Evova just TPs up top. Not exactly expected. I think he's escaped the showstopper as well, so a huge amount of damage with ults. And then the stun combined, I believe, with the smoke and that Armageddon has torn apart Fnatic. A great start to the round from Apex.
Especially when we've seen Fnatic take so many of these rounds so slowly. The one time that they go for that little bit of aggression, it's met pound for pound by Apex. A beautiful adaptation from this squad, and now what should be their first round on the board.
Exactly, and that's what we're looking for out of Apex now. What have you got that you can take it to Fnatic with?
Careful.
Watching here.
How much does Kayak have?
That one's free. Fluorescent's not missing that shot. I would have bet my house on it.
I got the spike.
For Alpha. He's no Evova. He is up against. If it was Evova, I believe in the clutch, but so much space conceded.
Do you remember who Alpha Year is?
No,
did you watch Lock-In? Have you seen any of these events?
He's not Evova.
Alpha Year, yeah, he's not
Evova's my number one.
But he has a couple more trophies than Evova.
I seem to remember one on Icebox B main. He had quite a good job of clutching up against a certain team in a certain grand final, I think.
Well, it is Evova to put him in the dirt. My man comes out on top. 1-0, you wish. 1-6, though, is where we're at in Fnatic. Look, they've had their showstopper for a while, burning it up in this round for not great success, and a fantastic response in terms of ultimates from Apex. But you have to ask the question, is it repeatable? Can we see this round again, the aggression up on A main? And if not, where will they take it? Because like we said, that proactivity, it seems to be what's pushed them across the line.
This is going to be a mean question, but how important is getting that first round on the board?
I wouldn't know. It is, no, genuinely very, very important, especially the first couple of buy rounds, getting through the early parts of a half, especially on a map that you've picked as well. It's crucial for players' confidence, for sure.
Someone who never lost any amount of confidence was Fluorescent. You can see again the deep teleport still available. So this is a one and done, but maybe still survive the done. I think Fnatic at this stage are so aware of C aggression. They're holding on to B control as well. So it's a spot where, again, we go back to those clears. I think the Prowler usage that comes out from Crashies is integral, but this one has left a gap. They're aware of it, but it doesn't matter.
Very clean engagement. The lurk out here from Chronicle set to meet Avova any moment now. Waits on the other side. Alfiair's bot had delayed him as Alpha takes that kill on B. At this point, it seems clear Alpha's the lurk. The C hits where it's coming in, and that's why Avova's still poking his head up that deep on A. But he'll lose his life for his trouble, and now that A site wide open with a TP in from Boaster, Apex won't be able to rotate ahead of this play. Fnatic should have themselves a free plant.
My ultimate is ready.
Batu's dropping down.
Getting flashbacks to around the never was. They got so much information about where two of these players are. Even going to put the lockdown in, don't mind it. It's going to force them into an awkward position, cycle those ultimates back. From this stage, Batu should be screwed and eventually will be for Floor again. The question is about saving that operator a chance of victory. Null and Fnatic immediately respond. And Pau, did they overcook that one? Because I feel like pushing Chronicle was a little bit risky, maybe not knowing that he was that far forward, but I feel like it's that B-site lurk again. Like having a player around there, they keep getting caught in motion.
Again, it's those 50-50 fights that these inserts from Fnatic that you mentioned, if they take them and they win them, it's going to win them the whole round. And Apex need to start adjusting to this. Rather than giving them these 50-50s, see where Fnatic's pack goes, and start looking to isolate these lurkers, these inserts a little bit more. Give yourself better than a 50-50 chance of shutting down those cancel options.
Well, that's it, right? Avova, here's the guy just pushing up solo. You see it as soon as the smoke fades. It is a 50-50 duel, but Chronicle catching him off guard. Has much less to check in that angle. So,
well, also it's a Chronicle fight, so not really a 50-50 of Chronicles on the other side.
That's true. Yeah, that is very true.
This is looking like Prime Fnatic on Lotus, to be honest. This is looking good.
Well, but
it's a good thing it's their choice, you know? Orange logo, pick the map, so...
That's a different shape.
That looks like an A.
But it is coming into today, and we had this discussion before the game, and obviously looking at the veto that came in, that this is somewhere that I think reasonably, correct me if I'm wrong, we could have seen Fnatic pick, and it would have been a reasonable choice for them. So you really do expect that Apex have something up their sleeve. Same comp comes in, and you're like, okay, how are you going to run it? Not like that. Kayak's already ahead, not even hit by the paranoia, and easily eliminating Avova. Again, that A site is blown wide open, and it feels like this defense from Apex it's like looking at leaves in the wind. They are just being thrown about by the gust of Fnatic.
What is different now, what they are changing up within this same default they've been keeping, is now this double B main push. They're closing out that option, but they've still given them a one.
Yeah, I think the second man got lost.
Got so much hope in your voice there, pal. I loved hearing it just fade away. Here they go, they're doing it.
Oh, the fade on has been put through. They know there's no one on the site itself. I was going to say that we could build up nicely for a combination of the Dimensional Drift Rolling Thunder, but when you're in a 3 versus 5, the gamble doesn't seem worth the risk. They know the Kayak's here. They heard a bullet or two connect, and the response is there. Not bad from Batu. That pulls out the Viper's Pit. It's going to make this so much tougher.
They make the right call here, especially with an AWP on the ground, but more importantly, Chronicle in a pit. Hey, if it's a 1v2, probably still safe, to be honest, looking at history, but this man is hard to root out of that position. He's safe in tree as well, and you're going to assume that you're running into Boaster, who early game hitting his shots, or Alfiair, who's not exactly the weakest of opponents.
Oh, according to you, you know, put him in a clutch, he's not going to win.
Yeah, but he wasn't in a clutch, 3v2. Then he's scared. Well, 8 rounds now for Fnatic, and at some point, you got to start to question why Apex wanted to bring it here, and it's up to them to show us the answers. For now, we're left scratching our heads.
The biggest thing for me is that Apex are kind of relying on these ultimates that they're getting up to try and get themselves into the game. Fnatic are playing such a good Lotus attack side that they're just using theirs just to close out, keep it secure, keep it safe.
Yeah.
They don't really need them to get in, and actually, it's caused Apex to bring out a second timeout and half. Rare, especially with only 3 rounds to go, but perhaps they've got something up their sleeve, combine the Rolling Thunder, combine the Dimensional Drift, just to get up a couple of these rounds towards the end of the half and give them a bit of motivation going into the second.
Yeah, normally you wouldn't want to see it, but you mentioned it's 8-1 down. We're now at a stage where if you go in 11-1 down, I don't care who you are, I don't think you're going to win that out versus Fnatic. They'll just save up all their ults if they ever do need them, and that's if they don't close things out before. And I think that this is now, you even mentioned it, there's moments where it looks like, okay, they're going to pincer onto that player, and then they separate and look for clues, the stun's a little bit delayed, like just disjointed enough that you give Alfiair a 1v1 duel. And again, that's it's always going to go in his favor unless he makes a mistake, which he doesn't do that very often.
Which is rare with a player of his caliber, for sure. But let's see, again, that's something that that the Apex staff might be now trying to touch up on, is to really reinforce this disruptive aggression early round, mid-round. Get in their face, perhaps change the default as well. Doesn't look like it, but we've also not seen much variation from what they're doing, at least in the early round.
I think it's difficult more so because most of the time, if you go for these like Teo setups, there's going to be some sort of aggression somewhere on the map. But Fnatic would genuinely spend half a round sat in their own spawn. Like, look, they're just watching as all of this utility goes, they'll wait it out, and then look to re-clear it moments later.
And the only time they did in the Armageddon came in to greet them alongside a stun, so understandable. This time a little bit of a switch up with Fluorescent and Malzy pushing. It's been a Vova dropped towards A for a couple rounds. They swap it up, they put the op there, early aggro, deleted immediately, and Fnatic, they're not even breaking a sweat on this
They didn't
push.
even use a Prowler in the initial clear. They were so confident in winning those fights that they sent basically no util. They just dry cleared and used them later on in the round. This is just a sweep. They were talking about waves, right? Well, this has turned into a tsunami and their opponents are getting washed away.
Yeah, and hoping to flood back in here, perhaps a chance. Two players with 2 picks, but it's a Vova low HP and dealt with by Alpha Yer. Batu, the last man standing, 3 to pick up. Waiting for that initial contact and swinging together. He does well to isolate a fight, but Alpha is popping off. 9-1 now for Fnatic. 1 round for Apex off the back of ultimates. And again, like, even after that timeout, no real change. We see them go for this aggression, but it is met with an immense show of force from Fnatic.
Something they're so drilled with, they're so comfortable with on this A re-clear. I don't think they had the read that that Apex were going to leave the op there. Perhaps they did have that overconfidence to go against it, contacting out. But you can see how comfortable these guys are. They've stolen my whiteboard idea.
Have they? Oh, there's going to be words after this. I don't think I've ever heard you that riled up, actually.
Thing is, I reckon you could take both of them.
He's thought about that. 9-1. Fnatic making it look easy out here. Avoiding that early utility, taking the early fights, and often, as we've said, not even using their own util for that. It's just been drop the wall, take the fight as the smokes fade. So too do the remaining defenders. Round 11, 2 chances for Apex to at least build some foundations for the next half. The operator's still out.
It's a showstopper though.
Yeah, I mean, they've Rolling Thunder on their own side.
I'd quite like to see them play a retake. Just when you have that dimensional drift and in combination with the Rolling Thunder, it's been online for a lot of rounds, but last round they played a contact off the back of the op, which they lost. I think before that, it was, yeah, these re-aggressive clears even when having a player advantage. Well, here goes the showstopper. B site clear. No one going to resist this? No.
Look at the extremities of the map, though. Boaster is sitting outside C. You've got a late lurk as well by Crashies. They know that they're likely to hit a bunch of these ultimates on their way through, or on Apex's way back in. And so the solution is to send out those extremity plays, but Boaster being caught limits their options somewhat. 12 seconds left. Plant is actually found. The ult from Fluorescent not landing. Alpha maintains control, but it's stolen away by Governor. 2 quick op shots, and it's back into Apex's favor. We've not seen them with this level of an advantage since that ult from Governor, and again, he is the difference maker, but Crashies on the late lurk. Kayak with another. The defuse underway, though! And by a fraction of a second, despite the kills going to Fnatic, Apex put up that round, a much-needed heaven sent for this squad. 9-3 still possible.
That's the Red Bull clutch comes through. We were sat, a Vova walked past, and I go, I want to see at least one ninja defuse today. Well, he has delivered.
He did promise.
I don't know if that's the sort of round they would have wanted with how things have been going, though. It's something. It's at least an additional round on the board, but the fact that that late rotation from Crashies and then the aggressive push through the smoke almost still wins it, it's terrifying.
It's terrifying for both teams. Both times, the teams in the retake, in the post-plant there, had quite significant number advantages, and it looked a little bit sketchy both times.
Well, 4v2 and Fnatic still winning all those fights. That spells danger for the future of this map, perhaps this series. 9-2. Apex, they've won 2 rounds that feel like flash in the pan. Now we need to see them really start to cook with gas, and it's Avova opening it up, but the immediate response is there. Luckily, Batu had taken quite an aggressive position, and possibly the deepest Viper ultimate that I've seen put into play here on Lotus, past
That was
Mound,
just to slow
and he's
them
just
down.
bailed out, yeah.
I think he thought he was being rushed. Instead, he's being flanked. Does seem to have a decent idea on it, though. Catching a couple eventually will be cleared, but there's another player that they had to look for. Leaving Crashies alone in the clutch. Now, one off a Nightfall. Will be garnered by the plant. Knows that there's nobody close, although, while the plant has been delayed. This could make this a much more problematic scenario with two players already coming in on the flank. He's going to have to get this bang on. Solid utility immediately thrown out, but they are behind him. It's at least a small recovery for Apex, who have still got a long way to go.
As long as there's no PC issues again here, then we should get the defuse. It should be 3 at the end of the half. And actually, I think Apex, with how that half was looking, should be happy with it.
That's the halftime, 9-3. A chance for Apex still. They've planted their seeds, and now they shall sprout in the second half. We'll find out if they can make that recovery after the break. Welcome back, folks. It is 9-3 in favor of Fnatic, and Apex delivered a couple lifelines towards the end of that half. They're not down and out just yet. And in ordinary circumstances, up against Fnatic on Lotus, I'm going to say, yeah, you know what? It's all right. Let's go to the next map. Let's go to your pick. But that's not the case this time around. Apex chose this battleground, so let's hope whatever they've been cooking is very focused on the attack side.
Absolutely. We're going to have to see something. They're going to have to show themselves something to get that confidence back in. Difficult on defense on Lotus, certainly against a good attacking team like Fnatic, with so much experience, with so much comfort. Let's see what Apex can bring themselves.
Well, that was what I was going to ask you. Do you look at the Apex composition and still think this will thrive more so on the attack? Because a lot of this for me had aspects of defensive aggression, like having that Teo, having that breach. You can still implement it. I think for Fluorescent, obviously will have to be a focal point, but I'm not as certain as, say, with the Fnatic comp that this was built for the attack.
No, absolutely. So this Apex comp, you should be able to have a very strong attack side. You've got the double smokes. You've got the ability to deny defensive vision, so you force them to be quite proactive, which against a comp like Fnatic's, they might struggle to do with only that fade. You've got the breach. You've got the Teo. You can go into quite direct, quite strong executes and force them to play a retake.
Smoke timed to delay at least a little bit. Apex still seem fully committed to this side of the map, and there are, well, two, maybe even a third player about to wrap in. The salvos will make it awkward, but actually Boaster goes forward, takes things into his own hands. That's a huge start.
He really is shooting, isn't he? A double opener, and the hope here from Apex that the Viper wall alongside the door open on A with drag rotations, it has not worked out. Not even a sliver of hope on that C push, but they'll go back to it again. Opening the door to B, trying to drag rotates and dropping Boaster. Okay, a good start Malzy, even in for another. That's him, I think, tripling his kills already. A confidence builder with a third. And it's Alphayer. Chronicle on the way to back him up. 8 seconds left, though. They can just throw themselves at Batu and stop this plant. Win off of time. And in fact, he sealed his fate. Both kills needed. And it's Fnatic to come out on top with a 10th round, double digits with the pistol round of half 2. That is a nail in the coffin and possibly one of the last.
Yeah, definitely so.
It's just rough. Like, trying to get into that with Boaster finding 2, I think his paranoia probably couldn't have been better placed if he tried, but it did seem the second they lost that initial fight, it was a scramble.
Yeah, it's when you end up in that sort of situation, you know you've got limited weapons, you know you've got a big space disadvantage, never mind the numbers disadvantage. You've got to either try and go for something fast, something aggressive, something that might work just because of the time, or you reset and you come up with a really good plan.
I think as well, Fnatic's immediate reaction made it so much tougher. I like this though. Salvo's used to section off a spot we expect players to be and even getting aggressive, but well, luckily Alphayer was ready with gun in hand. Will keep Kayak alive. Even still, Mitch, they're doing a bit of damage here.
Yeah, this has become a little closer than maybe the first eye test, especially when you see a player caught off guard and the trades come in so quickly in their favor. Recovery of the rifle, at least for Boaster, they'll be well armed for this final fight, and that certainly can't be said for Apex. So you have to hope an element of surprise can come into play. No utility to back them up either. Obviously, the refresh from Malzy will be there soon on the stun, but back to an orb here could be valuable. And then, like you said, Fnatic have everything to work with.
It'll be easy. And unfortunately, in a normal case, we'd say, hey, you drop a rifle, fantastic. You can go into the next round and you can make them pay. Unfortunately here, you almost have to hope that they'll be able to win it. Well, that has not gone to plan. Malzy's pistol prowess from the last round has dissipated, and even the brand new Apex Classic can't save them this time.
Not quite. The Fnatic Classic seems to be winning this one out. But actually, that kill that Malzy's unfortunately missed there on Boaster could actually be really, really crucial in terms of getting themselves back into the game. If he'd managed to get that, and then the death happens, and they're only one orb away then from his Rolling Thunder, going into a really, really important buy round this late in the half, it could have made a big, big difference. And Boaster's absolutely rolling with it.
Oh, he's having a good time. He's firing 6 to 7.
Who's got more energy, him or Yumpy?
Oh, no one's getting close to Yumpy.
I mean, I like the comms from Boaster there, but it's hard for people to remember what Yumpy was doing on the stage. It was a couple days ago.
You taught him that, didn't you?
But you, I believe, were the vocal coach. You want to give us a sample of that?
Absolutely.
If Apex come back, yeah?
No.
You'll give a bark if Apex come back.
13-11. 10 rounds in a row. Will you give us a Yumpy bark?
I'm not giving that away for free.
Wow.
I didn't think it's for free. I didn't say I wasn't paying. Let's talk price.
We'll save that for later.
We'll talk about it between now and next map. 11-3. Buy up for Apex. And look, at this point, pal, I actually want to ask you, 11-3 down. Do you literally wipe it from your mind, move to the next, or do you rate like a comeback here if you get to 7, 8 rounds, you start to change?
The guy who came back versus Fnatic. What do you think he's going to say?
I want to hear.
I mean, you've absolutely got to go for it. I think at this point, you, as a player, as a competitor, you've got to want to play for all of these rounds, because it's also a respect thing for yourselves, okay? Looking at how confident you can be on the map when you go back into practice, you absolutely go for it, for sure. Yeah. But if it doesn't go well, that hasn't put Fluorescent or Batu.
That's the one fight the Chronicle wanted. Having that SMG in hand didn't really allow for many other angles, and now it's the same thing. Okay, that hasn't worked. Let's just try and go back into the B site. Well, guess what? The Fnatic players are already waiting. And they're not going to overface here either. Kayak is one away from having the showstopper. This is a done deal. Like, having that ultimate in this sort of scenario should have removed Malzy from action. That's at least one, and somehow Malzy has found one more. Maybe there's some hope.
They've gotten over-eager going in for those final fights, trying to force the issue. We talk about clutches of Ova essentially in one here. Malzy, 19 HP.
He hit both
Rolling Thunder catches both. That's a lot of time running down now. It seemed to be a certainty that Fnatic would be on 12, that the map would be almost in their pocket, but now they need to fight their way back in. The man coming into today with the highest clutch percentage was Crashies. Might not quite be a clutch in the 2v2, but it's close enough. He does well in the re-entry, and 12-3 as a result.
Like that's the topic I want to bring up. Is like you go back to like kickoff. There was a few moments towards the end of it where he looked decent. I think it was week 1 here. He looked unbelievable, and he's bringing that same level here today. Not quite matching King Kayak over there, but you know, doing a stellar job.
Absolutely. I think when you look at this Fnatic team, everybody talks about, okay, you've got your Kayaks, you've got your Alphas, you've got your Chronicles, your big star players.
And Boaster.
But stage 1, Boaster and Crashies genuinely have looked like some of the most impactful players on this roster.
Yeah.
That's very worrying for the rest of the competition.
Oh, it is. It really is. And like I say, Crashy's a guy that doesn't die early and often wins clutches. That's a recipe for disaster. If you're up against him, Kayak going down early, but it's all Avova. Wise to his tricks, catches Alphayer out, and now a 3 versus 5. Somehow, it feels like those two picks, though, just about even the scales.
It's been a weird one.
That's brutal.
Fluorescent already spotting out information, even still playing it safe and using an ultimate to make sure everything is clear. And seems like with a bit of damage to their economy, the Fnatic players might not want to go for this. You're so far in the lead at this stage.
And I think that's a really important point about using that dimensional drift from Apex. They need to secure each round, one round at a time. There's no point saving strats. There's no point saving ults. There's no point saving any ideas that you have. Use it. Start building a little bit of momentum. Get yourself back into the game. And as soon as you get past that 2, 3, 4 rounds won in a row mark, especially on the attack side, especially with a comp that can be as aggressive as this, with as strong ultimates as this, that makes all the difference to the player's mental in the server.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. There's no point saving strats when you're going to change comp after this anyways. At least I'd imagine so. The results going this way. Fnatic, though, they're a team that will exploit you more than any other, and the weakness is here apparent under the magnifying glass.
We always punch
FNC.
up here on the cast of this, you know?
Yes.
Never punching down. We never hit anyone while they're down.
Wouldn't do that. Wouldn't dream of it.
Just don't watch the Koi cast. I know you have as well.
I have, yeah.
Well,
8 rounds.
mountain to climb.
It's doable.
Yeah, we may get the barks out of Pal yet, but there's going to be a lot of things that need to go right for Apex. For Fnatic, just the 1 round ultimates, operator in play for Kayak, and look at some of his openings so far. Look at some of his rounds, even just in this map. It's hard to believe that Fnatic will run out of steam and find themselves stalling.
Where's he off to?
Boaster's pushing with
It's on an adventure. I actually think I think I've seen Mitch do this in his rank game.
That's not true. I always stay behind the wall.
Cowering.
Nice and safe. Extra armor. Extra armor. I like this great little bit of aggression from Boaster, and now there's a 2-man stack up on the other parts of the map. The way Boaster's been playing so far, you know, he's 6 and 7, but more so the context of stage 1. You believe he has a good chance, but if this stun hits him, he is in a lot of trouble.
Oh, it will. And now escaping should be impossible. He does. Never mind. Buying a lot of extra time as well. 45 seconds on the clock. Boaster now in position with Paranoia. Goes back to potentially spam, but low enough on HP that has some serious risks about it. You can see the response from the opponents is potentially to try and double back here, but Crashy's already waiting, sprays wildly, gets nothing, but now walking into the Lion's Den, Althea. But the flash is actually phenomenal. Leaves him completely blinded. Well, Kayak hope to do some damage here, but only with the operator. You almost have to have a mistake out from Apex.
If Fnatic are going to go for it, that's exactly what needs to happen here, right? 2v4, op in play. I know you're 12-4 in the lead, but Fnatic aren't the kind of team, although we did see it in 1 round, to just put the pedal to the metal and say, I'm sure we'll get there eventually. No, they like to play the numbers.
The only thing that can let Apex back into this game is perhaps a little bit of what we've just seen there. From both Boaster in A main, holding the smoke, taking contact with his weapon, rather than holding his Paranoia out to counter-throw it as a piece of counter-util. Crashy's there, just disrespecting the Avova's Paranoia in Hobbit there, taking contact with his rifle. Seems like maybe there's a little bit of overconfidence. They've backed themselves to win the fights a little bit too much.
Yeah.
If they keep feeding that into Apex, they'll keep eating it up the whole time.
Do you think so? If you saw your players doing that, overheating like that, playing aggressive, looking for the fights, maybe looking for the highlight plays, right? That Odin 3K spray down if they just walk out of the smoke.
Only you're looking for that.
I think both just saw it a little bit there. I think we shared a vision for a moment. But at what point, you know, 12-5, you've got so much room to maneuver within there. I suppose you have to ask the question of the benefit of allowing your players to feel that confidence and then stepping in and going, okay, guys, straighten up. We need to finish this game out.
Yeah, I'd like to hope that most players, certainly in my team, are smart enough to understand, right, okay, it's a little bit too much. We've lost enough games this season already from a bit of complacency in the second half to big comebacks that people should be calm, composed enough to go, okay, that was a little bit too much. Let's reset ourselves, go back to default, and we'll be absolutely fine.
In the coaching seat of Fnatic now, you imagine they're saying, okay, the boys will make that read themselves.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with the experience of these players in particular.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, quite a number of rounds needed for Apex here on the attack. They're going to start it out nice and slow. Gate crash sent towards the C site. Drone going in C, but I don't imagine they're going to execute off that. Maybe trying to see if they can catch the players in rotate over on A. With a lot of players there, they're going to start to move pretty quickly.
They've got to be really careful because both Alfire and Crashies are one away from the ideal retake hole. So you almost have to get in, eliminate that player, which it seems like Alfire here might be the target. But playing so passively, and the second they pop any of that util, the orb goes up, Snakebite could be thrown into position as well. It has been.
30 seconds
And now you're looking
left.
at 30 seconds and potentially a very late hit towards B.
Yeah, that timer running down, but door open. They'll be making their way to the B site, relatively undefended. It's players that can be pushed back by utility, but Chronicle steps ahead after the stun, grabs one, that spike down, and another! A beautiful connection, but the response is there from Apex. If they can stop this plant on Fnatic, it will be done. The nade is on its way. It might be a little bit too much to the right. No, it's spot! Oh, and then Fluorescent down, but the plant just in time. Apex still in with a chance. Some rounds have felt like a ship without a rudder, but now they'll finally need to find their direction with Fnatic coming all from one spot through the smoke, and they're put in the dirt, left into the hands of Bad 2, and the spray, it doesn't land. Fnatic 13-5. This is going to be tough for Apex to try to rebuild from the ruins of their map pick.
That was a gamble to pick into what has historically been one of the best maps of Fnatic. We were hoping to see some next level game plan. Unfortunately, it wasn't the case. Maybe they've done the work on Split. We'll find out after the break.